I'm Kit, and this is my camper van, Willie. Over the past 4 weeks, I've been bringing you scenes from my first proper road trip, from the north of England where I live now, to the furthest southeastern tip, a little known place called the Isle of Thanet. During the course of that trip, I travelled 582 miles, used 86 litres of diesel costing £127, and incurred £115 in penalty charges. So, was it all worth it? What follows is an unvarnished rant from a man in the woods. Again. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name's Kit, and this is my camper van. Thank you very much for joining me. I don't really know how to start this episode because, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm even making this episode. I've been struggling. If you've been around for a while, if you know me, you know that I suffer from a variety of mental health issues. And one of them has reared its ugly head, and it's depression. So I've been kind of tucked away feeling very sorry for myself. So depression hit me. I've spent the last week or so in bed watching the Tudors, and today hunger drove me out of my bed. That's the only reason I got up today, really. I was very, very hungry and I needed to get some food, because VanLifers seem to enjoy making food, eating food and watching other people do the same, so I thought, why not? So I've got a couple of bags of shopping in the back of the van, and I'm going to make some food because I'm very, very hungry. But I thought first I'd just explain to you why I'm a little bit down in the dumps and why this video isn't going to be anything spectacular. It's not too bad. I've been having fish cravings for the last couple of days. I'm not sure if it's connected to watching the Tudors or not. I don't think there have been any fishy episodes. The last thing I remember seeing Henry VIII eat was a swan, and I certainly have no cravings to eat swan. But maybe I'm pregnant. I think I'm beginning to show. Okay, well, the first experiment didn't work out. You see, part of the craving that I'd had was to include a balsamic dressing as part of the ensemble, and it turns out that that doesn't go at all. So that was a bad idea. The original plan was, the craving that I originally had was for smoked haddock, because it's a form of yellow that doesn't exist in nature, and that appealed to me. So I wanted some smoked haddock, and I was going to steam some asparagus and place some asparagus spears across the top, and then I thought a drizzle of balsamic vinegar or balsamic dressing over that might be quite fun. But as it turns out, it certainly doesn't go with prawns, that's for sure. No, that's a very strange flavour combination. prawns and balsamic dressing, no. However, the chilli and lime dressing that I also used, that goes very well. Although, as it turns out, chilli and lime dressing doesn't mix well with balsamic dressing either. Yeah, basically the balsamic was a bad move. So, this video apparently is me sitting in some woods in a car park eating food. It's not particularly ambitious, there's no interesting cinematography or editing, there are no interesting architectural sites for you to see. When I went on my week-long Thanet odyssey and made the previous 4 episodes, I got into a bit of trouble with the law, because as it turns out, there's this thing called the ultra low emission zone, the ILZ. And as I was driving towards Thanet, I started seeing these signs, very small signs, declaring that I was now entering the ultra low emission zone. There was no reference anywhere on any of the signage that this indicated that I needed to pay some money, and no indication of how to pay said money once I knew that I needed to pay it. All the information I was provided with was that I was entering this zone, a zone I had never heard of, because guess what? I'm not from London, and I know this might come as a surprise to Londoners, but lots of people aren't from London, but they assume that because it's an affair of London, everybody in the world must be aware of it and care about it deeply. So they assume that once you've been informed that you're entering the ultra low emission zone, you know that you've got to pay them money. And how to do it. But of course I didn't. I thought that they were just proudly declaring that they'd managed to reach some sort of emissions targets, and they were just boasting and bragging about their success in achieving some sort of emissions target. It wasn't until I returned home that I received a letter in the post informing me that because I hadn't paid the charges to enter the ultra low emission zone, I was being fined £160. Yes, £160. And British people are used to a £70 fine. That's £70 if you park where you're not supposed to. £160. Now, they very graciously allowed me to pay half of that, so I was allowed to pay £80 if I paid it immediately. But otherwise it's 160, and then it would go up to double that and then triple that, and it would just keep escalating. So I had a look online, and it actually says on the website for the ultra low emission zone that the only way you know you've been charged is when you receive the penalty charge notice, the fine for not having paid it. It's a scam. Oh yeah, and they keep moving the boundaries of the zone as well, so you never quite know whether you're going to be driving through it or not. Now, the reason I tell this story is because I fell into this trap for one reason. My sat-nav, my out-of-date sat-nav, offered me the option of travelling from my home to Thanet using non-toll roads. It said, "Do you want to avoid tolls?" And so I said, "Yes, please." And as a result, it took me into the heaviest toll zone that has ever been invented by a corrupt mayor. So if I had gone the standard route, I would have gone by the Dartford crossing, and I could have avoided the ultra low emission zone, and I would have just paid for the Dartford crossing, which is a toll that I was aware of and knew how to pay. But I thought I'd avoid that and go by a different route, see what happened. What happened was I got royally fucked by the Mayor of London. Thank you, you. The reason I'm telling you this story is as a cautionary tale. Make sure your sat-nav is up to date and knows the latest toll roads and the latest penalty charge areas, because it might offer to avoid tolls and actually take you into a worse place. There are a million spaces. Why do you have to park next to me? Not only did I have to pay £80 for the privilege of going through this zone to get to Thanet, but once I was in Thanet, I also received a penalty charge notice for parking in a place that had a teeny tiny tiny little sign that I hadn't been aware of when I parked because it was dark and the sign wasn't illuminated and it was small, which had a picture of a cross and then in tiny lettering along the bottom, no motorised caravans or something like that. Well, I don't consider this a motorised caravan, but I guess I'm an intelligent enough person to discern the meaning. But the point is, I didn't see the sign. It was so small and it was dark and unilluminated. Basically, I made 4 promotional films for Thanet, and they kindly repaid me by fining me for parking in a place with a miniaturised and very unclear sign. £115 in fines. I got back a month ago, and it was only yesterday that I remembered to empty the toilet. So yesterday I slid the cartridge out of the back of the van just as my next door neighbour was pulling up, and because she's nosy, she stopped to watch me. I don't think she fully understood what I was doing, but she was curious about what I was doing, so she stopped to watch. So I panicked and slopped the contents of the cartridge all over my feet. And on that bombshell, I think I'll call it a day. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't imagine why you would, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, or even if you didn't, because I'm desperate, please hit the subscribe button, unless you've done so already. Hit the like button, share, that's important, comment, do all the good stuff. I need your help, and I will see you next time. See you later.